Like you want to make sure, like
Right,
I'm
right,
not
right,
trying to
right.
do the flim flam, right? Like don't bring me here for
Don't
one
bring
thing
me.
and then you start
Yeah, I
talking about
tried
a
to put a whole
whole bunch
bunch
of
of
other
stuff
stuff.
in there. Yeah, because I know you got Cop City stuff. I tried to throw but I threw this in there. I was like, "Woo, Renee is oof."
Yeah, I
So,
told
so
you, I
what
be
is?
telling you. So here's what happened. So that the tweet that I'm retweeting in that, if you click on the one that with the gadfly,
Okay,
someone
hold.
found a payment to Nick Branna. This was from I think the either the second quarter this year or whatever. So it was a payment of $6,666.67, which is already like a weird number. That to me screams of like it's a third of something, but whatever. So I was like, why are they paying him in July to be the campaign management consulting? Like what campaign management consulting was he doing for the Cornel West campaign? Like what is going on right now? And then it tracked for me that this was not the number that I saw during another meeting when we were talking about essentially, and I'm just gonna say it. So there was rumor that Nick Branna was basically blackmailing the Cornel West campaign, right? And that he didn't want to release some things and whatever, whatever.
Oh, I
So
didn't
the
mean to do
number
that.
that I remembered seeing was way more than $6,000, which is why I was like, huh, that's weird. I don't remember that being the number. So then I went digging. And then that's how I got to this, which is this is a debt and obligation report. So it's not like pay, it's actually what they basically paid back as an obligation of a debt. And so that amount is over $13,000. This is separate from the over $6,000. So the total was like $23,000 and change.
Yeah, because this one is 16,398.82.
Right. Right. So $23,000 to Nick Branna for what? Like I don't even like what did he do that in that
Could it
like
be
week
one of
and a
those like Bobby Bonilla things where the what you're initially owed is agreed to be paid out over time, so that a the recipient can be helped in not overspending, and b the the payer can, based on their budget, pay in installments as opposed to having to have it all up front. Is
right.
that a possibility?
I mean, it's anything is possible. I just thought it was interesting, and since, in my opinion, Nick Brandt is like the king grifter, like
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, and that was part of, if you remember, that was what initially had me in contact with you was
Mm-hmm.
because I know Nick like personally. I've had conversations with him. Like I know he's a grifter, and so when that initial thing happened, I remember being like, you signed on to run with Nick Brand. Like, what in the world? So then as all these things start playing out and now looking at the monies and all, like this just it's just part of his grift. But I was floored. But then all of that happened. And then here came the news that he took
Right.
money from Harlan Crow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I admit I didn't, beyond the name, I don't really know much about Harlan Crow other than just what is said here. The GOP mega donor and pal to Clarence Thomas maxed out his campaign donation to a self-described non-Marxist socialist trying to defeat Joe Biden. I didn't Has he said that? I don't remember Cornel West referring to himself in this way, as a
Yeah,
non-Marxist socialist. I think
I
that's
don't know.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't
Is
know
that
about
new?
that. Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
I don't know. But
so
Harlan
Harlan, yeah,
Crow
go ahead.
is
Mhm.
so he owns that property where they were taking the pictures. He's the guy who like collects the Nazi memorabilia. like he's an interest like I can't even for the life of me understand why you are in like why you're in community with these people. So, you know, I was thrown off because Harlan Crow has already proven himself to be somebody who is not aligned with Black liberation. And he is fully in with this entire madness that's happening with Clarence Thomas and how much money he's taken and the bribing. Like, So if I were running for president, right, I would not want to be associated with this person. So this comes out, people start questioning, like, wait a minute, why are you taking money from this person? And Cornel West is basically like, I'm a free black man. I could take money. I could take money from him. And you know, going on to this really like in what I consider like a bizarre response that indicated that like he's friends with this person, and you know they're an anti-Trump Republican, and like all these things that in my
So an
opinion.
anti-Trump Republican and a non-Marxist socialist. This is a
Right.
great combo.
Right. So he's since said that he's a jazz man and he's taken everybody's word in and he's going to send the money back. So he's going to return the money now. So he
Oh, he
says
did?
that was the latest
Oh, the last I
post.
saw was the one you were talking about where he was saying,
Yeah.
I
No,
can
I
do
can
what I need
try
to
and find
do.
it. I didn't realize that I didn't put it on the run sheet.
Because
But
so
go ahead.
initially I thought this was his response to Ajamu Baraka's point about having removed himself from the game, and unless, I think Baraka said something to the point that if he comes up, he would have to come up with some major donor to circumvent the fact that he had lost access to all those ballots, and to try to recoup any of that in a year would require a match. So I thought maybe this was West attempting to do that. But the responses on those Twitter feeds from him were not good.
No.
And
No.
yeah, so
And in my opinion, you should, or not you can't, because obviously people can do whatever they want, but you should not use your blackness as an excuse or reason for why you are accepting money from people who are like clearly like anti-black. What? You say it like that?
no,
You say what? What?
because the other day, you know, Daruba in his engagement with Ajamu has been only referring to him as Ajamu.
Ajamu, yeah.
And it came up the other day that is
Yes,
the
that's the
correct
correct
pronunciation.
Yes.
So I've been trying to correct myself because I haven't said Ajamu in my life. So yeah, Ricky, I'm trying to practice if that's how it's supposed to be, you know. But I do need to ask him, or if he's been asked this elsewhere, someone could point me to it, or maybe Ricky knows. But when Baraka breaks down his argument around how West could have made it to the White House, I admit I am very compelled by that argument. I've heard him say it a couple times, but what I haven't heard is what was West and his team's response when Baraka laid that out. In other words, I'm assuming there was a moment where there was a discussion where West told him, "Hey, we changing this up," and Baraka said, "My man, no, you have a way. Don't do that." And I'm very curious to know what that would have been. What was the argument against Baraka's argument for that?
That would be interesting to hear. And this has been, again, like, this is me going back to my same thing that I've been asking from the start, which is I don't understand.
No. I'm sorry, Renee. Sorry. Just to correct Infinite and the super chat here. No. Nick and RBN we've moved on from. Nick Branagh from the elections and People's Party is a separate issue that we're talking somewhat about now. So Nick and RBN we dealt with in the first few minutes. We moved into Nick Branagh and him being paid still by West's campaign, right? That's what we were looking at. And now we're talking about Nick.
No, Cornel West campaign.
And now we're talking about
a donation that was made to the Cornel West campaign from Harlan Crow. That is now being, according to the latest notification, is being returned.
So just to be clear, we are not saying that Nick and RBN took money from Harlan Crow. We are not saying that. I just want to be very clear, because of all the smearing we're being accused of.
We are
not saying that. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that Nick Branagh had an issue with payments from Cornel West campaign, and now Cornel West campaign, separately from Nick Brana and Nick from RBN, has taken money from Harlan Crow for his campaign, but maybe on the way to giving it back. So,
Yes, according,
well,
because he's a jazz man. So
he's a
according to
jazz
that.
man.
So one of my, as you know, consistent concerns has been the decisions that have been made, right? So first the decision was, okay, you called me third on your list to run for president, and now I'm going to run with you for president, even though I don't have any full understanding of what all you and your organization has been embroiled in for the past however many years and how little you've gotten towards your goal. Then you get another phone call that tells you, no, 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 you should switch and you should run with this party instead, because they at least have, some kind of structure and something set up in advance to do the ballot access and yada yada. So you jump in, okay, we're going to do this. So you move along with them for a while until you realize how much work it's going to take, which again, you should have known in advance, right? Like, I don't understand how anyone signs up to run for president without doing their full diligence and research into what this takes. That said, okay. So now you're with the Green Party. And then now you decide, oh, I'm not going to run with the Green Party. I'm going to run independent instead, because, this whole having to run for the Green Party nomination and having to run for president at the same time. But again, this is not new information. So, and then now you have to return donations because you're taking donations from people that are getting you the side eye. And as you're getting the side eye, you're upset because, this is your brother, and, you've known him long before the campaign. And it's always the same questionable, why are you making these decisions, and how is it that you keep making these decisions without like fully vetting and making like really looking into it. Like, he's brilliant. He's always been, able to vocalize and talk about things and bring really good issues to the forefront and have these conversations. But I don't understand how it seems that these things that call his decisions into question continue to happen over and over again. And it just, I don't know. I can't rock with it. And it's the same questions that I've been asking. And every time I ask them, I'm a hater and I'm this and I'm just a Democrat and da 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 da. But nobody can answer the question, which is, why is somebody who is so brilliant unable to do their legitimate research and make decisions on their own that make sense moving forward?
Even the most brilliant need teams around them, and so even Cornel West can't get everything right. And it feels like he's making a couple mistakes here.
And they're big though.
Yeah,
They're big mistakes. And it's
yeah,
hard for me as a person who already questions electoral politics, already a lot of times don't vote at the top of the ticket. Like, why would I do that? Like, you can't even, I just can't, I can't, I can't, So somebody's saying he's got 13 months. So let's address this, because I have that. I have a spreadsheet, y'all. Now that everybody's aware of me and my, so let's go
right.
to the independent
All right, hold
presidential
on.
candidate sheet.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. Renee is the most thoroughly prepared. I've never worked with anybody in these YouTube streets this thoroughly prepared.
Are you
It's
serious?
never. It's a little intimidating. And yeah, it's a little intimidating. So but it's also, it's also a confession about my own levels of preparedness. So
Right.
what are we
So
looking at here?
So
What's
this is
this?
a spreadsheet that I created that explains what needs to be done in each individual state in order for someone to run as an independent candidate for president.
Mm,
So I will first, let's just be clear. I got all of this from Ballotpedia. And there were a couple of states that, because it's based on certain percentages, they don't have an updated list yet, because it's based on the last time the governor ran or whatever have you. Um, but this is not an easy task. So people who were saying he has 13 months, he does not have 13 months. Right?
yeah,
It's
break that.
13
What
months
are we
until
looking
the
at?
election, but it
Yeah.
is not 13 months in order to get on the ballot somewhere. So the date that's there is the date by which you have to file your paperwork with all of your signatures and make your payment in order
Mhm.
to be on the ballot in that particular state, right? So you
So the
have to,
latest is all end of August, it looks like,
right,
of next year.
right,
Well,
which is not
September for
13,
North
right.
Dakota, but
And
yeah,
that's not 13 months from now,
right.
right? That's less than that,
And then
significantly
for
less
some of the
than
states, it's earlier. So for some states,
that.
it's in
It's
June. I
June,
saw,
right,
yeah. So
right,
you gotta like for Illinois, it's June. Uh, Maryland, it's August. But yeah, so
right.
mostly
And
June,
then for
July,
some
August. Yeah,
states, it's
Montana is
it's
June.
tricky, right? Like it's not as simple like just go out there and like New Jersey is relatively go out there get your 800 signatures. That's it. For some, you have to research who who ran for governor in the previous year, how many people voted for that governor's race, because you need 3% of the amount of people who voted for the governor's race in the prior election,
Wow.
right? For some places, like in Maine, for example, like, a lot of people, when they talk about signature collection, they collect a significant more amount of signatures than you need so that they can make sure that they get through that threshold within whatever they collect. In Maine, you need 4,000 signatures, but you're not allowed to collect more than 5,000. And that's to make sure that you don't just overwhelm the office with signatures that they have to then comb through, right? For some, I think it's like Indiana, that was the most unique one that I saw, and I hope it was Indiana, but it was like 2% of the
Mhm.
Secretary of State. Right, who's looking for this
And what do you
information?
mean? You have to get 2% of the votes?
Whoever the prior vote for the Secretary of State, however many people voted in that election, you have to calculate 2% of that number of people, and that's the amount of signatures you need. And then there's one that I left blank because, and it's towards the top of, maybe it was, there it is, Arizona. So Arizona is 3% of unaffiliated registered voters. How?
So
So
you have
that
to
means
appeal to non-registered voters to
whoever is
get.
not registered with a specific um, party. So this is not simple work, right? And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, and I hope
Wait a
I
minute.
left it on there.
Why does
Yeah, go ahead.
UPP need 20,000 now? Oh, because Maryland's changing the Maryland's has changed their requirements.
Oh, did they really? So see, and so even that, right? Like this is all based on whatever information was available,
Hmm.
at this time. If states change it, they have to figure out what the change is, and then they have to go from there, right? So this is a lot of work. So when you scroll all the way down to the bottom, I think I put the sum, the calculation in to count up all the numbers so that you can see the full amount of signatures that you need to collect that need to be verified between all the states. And I think it's like 800,000, right? That is a lot of work. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of planning. That's a lot of people out on the streets. Like, yes, yes, whole earth. This is the requirements for independent candidates who are unaffiliated with a party. This is the role. This is what has to be done. It is, and I'm not saying, again, this is not me saying it can't happen, right? Like maybe he'll have enough people on the ground and he'll have a plan and they'll be able to get it all together and get it done, right? Like anything could happen if you have the right people and the right amount of people on the ground to help you get this work done. But this is not a simple task. And this is the thing that I feel like people don't understand when they jump and they say things like, oh, there's plenty of time for all. There's not a lot of time. And it is a lot of work to get this type of thing done. So if you miss this major point about what is required for someone who is running as an independent candidate, and you don't understand the amount of signatures that are needed, and that you have to do this across the country, and every state has a different, like if you look, every state is different. Every state got something to, either the date is different, the number is different, if there's a fee or not is different, where they get the number from is different. Like it's a lot of work, and it's hard to run an independent candidate. Like it's really, really hard to run as an independent candidate. And I just feel like, I feel like if you miss that part, it's very easy to be dismissive of the critique of how is he going to get this thing done, because you're not really understanding how much work needs to happen in order for it to succeed. Like it's a lot of work.
Clearly. I don't even know what to say. That's why I'm saying I wish I would know what that conversation was like. Because, and I saw someone raise an eyebrow when I mentioned this earlier in the chat, that I understand how it sounds initially. It sounds crazy that Cornel West could have ended up in the White House, but as I keep saying, twice now I've heard iMWiL Baraka break it down, his argument down twice, and it's compelling. The way he explains the division of the electorate, the popularity of Cornel West, the particular historical moment, the weakness of the existing popular candidates. It was all I can say is it was, to me, a compelling argument that I would like to know what the response is to that. So maybe there's an equally compelling argument for why West felt the need to break away from the Green Party, and that would give him a better chance. I admit I don't see it, but wow.
Right. And listen, again, not that the Green Party is not without its own issues, right? Like something that has been discussed that I feel like is really important is there is a huge lack of representation of Black people, but they exist, right? There's a Black caucus, right? There's actually, like, there are Black people who exist within the party. There's an entire caucus. There's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of stuff. But, I watched the interview when iMWiL and Daruba came on, and I didn't quite get to the end of it, but I watched enough of it that I figured it out. But this was a moment that he really could have utilized to build that strength within the Green Party. Like people were coming in, like people were jumping on and saying, like, listen, like if he's gonna run, we believe in him as a person, we believe in the things that he's speaking about, this, that, the other. We'll take a look at the Green Party, and that could have been utilized. And I don't know. It was disheartening to me because I was concerned that this was going to be the end result. And then when it happened, I was like, there we go. Now what? Like, now what's going to happen? Now what is the plan going to be to build a base of Black working people so that, we can have some kind of say in any, you know what I mean? Like it's just, the whole thing to me is just like,